Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
Well, good morning. Welcome back again to Keeping It Real. I'm Reverend Laura, and this is that time we take each week to look at the principles that we've been talking about throughout the month and see how we can bring them into practical, useful application in our lives. For the month of May, we have been looking at the idea of peace, and I've been focusing on the spiritual practice of mindfulness and how we can bring about a greater sense of peace in our lives when we practice mindfulness more consistently. For the last week of the month, I usually like to look at how do we take this out into the world? How do we actually use this in a way that's broader than just our own personal lives? And so today I'd like to take a look at what is called mindful self-compassion and how we can use this practice of self-compassion and compassion for others in a mindful way that lets us release some of the bad feelings that we have, the anger, the fear, and the things like that keep us from wanting to be in relationship with other people. You know, back of all of those hard feelings, there's some kind of a soft, vulnerable place within us that's been triggered. So, for instance, if we're angry about something, well, then oftentimes there's a sense of being hurt. Or sometimes there's a sense of somebody did us wrong, and we need we have this feeling of being vulnerable, and we want to release that. And so in our sense of vulnerability, we act out in an angry and harsh way, kind of hardening ourselves up to it to keep ourselves safe. And then oftentimes these feelings are triggered by fears that we have from people we don't understand, people who are different, people that we haven't taken the time to get to know. I love that line from that poem. You'll very rarely hate a fellow when you know him very well. You know, when we don't take the time to get to know people, then oftentimes fear builds around that. But we can get really hard on ourselves about that, and then that just perpetuates those feelings. So there's practices that we can do that are based in mindfulness that will help us alleviate some of those feelings. And like I said, one of them is to be consciously aware. So we go into our meditation, our mindfulness that I've been speaking about all month. Go into that relaxed state where we're focusing on our breathing. And as we become aware of the hard feelings as they show up, as the anger shows up, or the fear shows up, or the mistrust, or any of those things that are a little bit more powerful, as that starts to show up, again, we become aware of it. We don't try to resist it, but we breathe into it and see what's back of it. Okay, so if I'm feeling anger, what's behind the anger? What kind of triggered the anger? What's making me feel this, that I want to lash out at somebody, or I want to harden myself against someone? What's going on here? What is my soft feeling back of that? Am I feeling vulnerable? Am I feeling like this person may hurt me, or this group of people may hurt me because I don't understand them? Or am I feeling like there's already something that's been done to me, and I'm feeling that I've already been harmed in some way, and I'm reacting to that, so I'm hardening myself to not allow any further harm to happen within me. And so as I spend time in my mindfulness practice and become aware of that, don't just focus on that first surface feeling. Look what's back of it. See if we can become aware of what is behind that intense reaction that we're having, because there will almost always be some other feeling back of it. The harsh feelings, they're the loud ones. They're the ones that are going to show themselves first, and they're gonna make themselves known very easily. Those more vulnerable feelings, those softer feelings, the shame, the fear, the vulnerability, the anguish, all of those things that are back of those hard, in-your-face feelings, that's where the real work is. And so we've become aware of what's behind it, then we can get us to a greater sense of compassion for ourselves, because we all feel these things. And sometimes it's easy to be hard on ourselves because we're, I don't want to be an angry person. So I'm demonstrating anger right now. It makes me feel bad about myself. I don't want that. And so it's easy for me to see that anger. It's not always so easy for me to see what's back of it. So take that opportunity when you're in your mindfulness practice and look a little bit deeper. Go back through and see what those feelings are that in your face emotion is covering up for you, because almost always there's going to be something behind it. And then that's the place for us to begin to soften ourselves around it. To begin to realize that I'm not alone in this. Other people feel this too. And there's no reason for me to be hard on myself about it. And as we begin to feel more compassion for ourselves, we give ourselves a place where we can actually be compassionate for other people. But as long as we're hard on ourselves, there's no room for anybody else to have any kind of pass on how they behave either. We want to, if we're hard on ourselves, we're going to be hard on somebody else. So look for those opportunities in your life throughout the week to see where you can begin to soften a little bit. See where you can begin to become aware in a non-judgmental way. Remember, that's the key thing with mindfulness. It's awareness of the present moment in a non-judgmental way. Everybody feels this. We don't have to be ashamed of it. We don't have to be hard on ourselves for it, but becoming aware of it gives us a place to begin to change it. So let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next week on Keeping It Real. Bye-bye.
Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.